FAFSA, free application for federal student aid. The $4 billion mistake. Picture a table. On that table sits $4.4 billion. It is not a loan. It is grant money for college, money that never has to be paid back. Now, picture nearly everyone walking right past it. That is not hypothetical. According to a National College Access Research Organization, the high school class of 2024 left roughly $4.4 billion in federal grant aid unclaimed. About 830,000 of those students qualified. They did not lose the money because they earned too much. They lost it because they never filed one form. That form is the FAFSA. So let's break down how it works and why it may be the most valuable document a student ever signs. What the FAFSA actually is. FAFSA stands for the Free Application for Federal Student Aid. Think of it as one key that opens 3 doors. It is administered by the U.S. Department of Education, and filing it is always free. Now here's what people misunderstand. The form does not hand out money itself. Instead, it collects your financial information, runs it through a federal formula, and sends the result to the schools you list. From there, 3 systems go to work. First, the federal government awards grants, work-study jobs, and low-interest loans. Second, your state awards its own grants. Third, each college awards its own institutional aid. 1 form, 3 funding streams. The calendar that actually matters. Here is where families get tripped up. There is not one deadline, there are 3. The federal deadline for the 2026-27 award year is June 30th, 2027. That sounds generous, but do not be fooled. Your state sets its own deadline, often between November and March. Your college sets a priority deadline too, frequently in January or February. So remember this rule. The earliest deadline on your list is your real deadline. Why? Because much of this money is first come, first served. State grant pools are finite. Campus funds run out. Meanwhile, the form now opens early each fall. The 2026-27 application launched in late September of 2025. So the strategy is simple. File early. Waiting doesn't just risk a missed deadline, it can quietly shrink the award you were owed. The form that changed. Now, if you filed years ago, forget what you remember. Federal law overhauled this application. Gone is the old expected family contribution. In its place is the Student Aid Index.
And unlike the old number, this one can go negative, all the way down to negative $1,500. That matters because a lower number signals greater need, and colleges use it to prioritize limited aid. The form also got shorter, but some changes cut the other way. Having multiple children in college at once no longer reduces your index, and family farms and small businesses now count as reportable assets. Either way, you cannot know where you land until you file. The consent rule you cannot skip. This next point derails the most applications. The new form uses the idea of a contributor. A contributor is anyone whose financial information is required: the student, a spouse, a parent, or a step-parent. Each must create their own account and sign in separately, and each must consent to let the Internal Revenue Service send their tax data directly to federal student aid. Here is the hard part. That consent is mandatory. If even one required contributor refuses, the application is incomplete, and incomplete means no federal aid, no matter how much need the student demonstrates. There is no workaround. So before you begin, make sure every contributor knows they will need an account and that they will need to say yes. What is actually on the table? So what does this unlock? Collectively, federal student aid programs distribute well over $100 billion a year. The federal Pell Grant tops out at $7,395 for the current cycle, and it is never repaid. A federal supplemental grant can add up to $4,000 more, but it is campus-based, meaning each school gets a fixed pot that eventually runs dry. Federal work-study provides part-time jobs tied to your studies, and direct loans carry fixed rates set by federal formula each year. Be aware, though, recent federal legislation reshaped borrowing significantly, adding new caps for parents and graduate students. One more reason to file early and read your offer closely. The myth that costs families most. Let's address the biggest myth head-on. Many families skip the form assuming they earn too much, but there is no income cutoff, none. Higher income families still access unsubsidized loans, which often carry better terms and protections than private borrowing. More importantly, states and colleges use this same data for their own scholarships, including awards based on merit, not need. Filing costs you nothing but time. Not filing can cost you everything on the table. No one is automatically disqualified. Now let's talk about students who assume the door is closed, because often it is not. A drug conviction no longer blocks federal aid. That question was removed. So was the selective service requirement. Students who are homeless or at risk of homelessness can be verified as independent by a school district liaison, a shelter director, or a college aid officer. Former foster youth, wards of the court, and emancipated minors qualify as independent too. Students in prison can receive Pell Grants again through approved prison education programs, reversing a ban that stood nearly 3 decades. Students with intellectual disabilities may qualify through approved transition programs, and a citizen student with an undocumented parent can absolutely still file. That parent participates as a contributor without a Social Security number, and their status does not affect the student's eligibility. Many states also offer an alternative application for state aid. When your circumstances are unusual. Here's a right most families never hear about. Financial aid administrators hold what federal law calls professional judgment, and they can use it 2 ways.
First, for special circumstances, meaning your finances changed, a job loss, a divorce, major medical bills. There, the aid office can adjust the numbers to reflect your reality, not last year's tax return. Second, for unusual circumstances, meaning the family relationship itself is the problem. Abuse, abandonment, estrangement, a parent's incarceration. There, the office can override dependency status entirely, so a student files without parent information. Colleges must publicize that these reviews exist and must decide unusual circumstance requests within 60 days of enrollment. So if your paperwork does not match your life, say so. Ask in writing. That request is not a favor. It is a process the law built for you. After you hit Submit. Once the form goes through, you receive a FAFSA submission summary. Read it closely. It shows your student aid index and tells you whether you were selected for verification, an audit-style review that hits roughly 1 in 4 applicants. If selected, respond fast, because unanswered requests are a common reason aid quietly disappears. Next, each school builds your offer using a simple equation. Cost of attendance minus your student aid index minus other aid equals your remaining need. Compare offers side by side, and if one falls short, request reconsideration. Finally, 2 ongoing obligations. You must refile every year, and you must maintain your school's academic progress standards to keep the aid flowing. Guard your information. One last warning. The FAFSA is free, always. The official application lives on a .gov website, and it will never ask for a credit card. If a site requests payment to file, close the tab. Both the U.S. Department of Education and the Federal Trade Commission warn about services charging for what the government provides at no cost. The road ahead. So let's bring it home. This is one application. It is free, and it stands between millions of students and billions of dollars that already have their names on them. Every fall, that window opens. Every June, it closes. And every year, hundreds of thousands of eligible students walk right past the table. Do not be one of them. File early. Get every contributor to consent. Ask for a review when your circumstances demand it. Because a college education should be decided by a student's potential, not by a form they never knew to fill out.